For part 2 of this mask sewing tips and technique video, I'm going to show you a child size mask. Here's a child size small and a child size extra small. And there was a question that came up on the Masks for Performers Facebook group that was asking about top stitching. So here's a mask that I've done that doesn't have that top stitching. And here's one that does have it, and that's a personal choice. It's up to you. If you're wanting to do less needle holes through your filter fabric, you can go ahead and skip that top stitching step. The other thing that Joan had mentioned was an alternative way of doing the zip tie casing. So I'm going to show that to you on the front piece of this extra small mask. Here's the front fabric that I'm going to have on the outside of the mask, and what I've done is I've just stitched the filter fabric 1/8 of an inch away to the back of that front piece. That just makes it easier to assemble, and the stitching is going to get tucked into the seam. For the inside piece, it's going to look like this in the mask. I'm going to sew one zip tie channel for these child size masks, and the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to cut a 1-inch strip or ribbon and sew it at 3/8 of an inch from the raw edge, and then the next line at 3/8 of an inch as well. So it's still going to be big enough to fit that zip tie through, but this way, instead of sewing through my filter fabric, I'm sewing through another layer of cotton. It works the same, it's just a different approach. And if you're looking at reducing the number of holes that you're putting through your filter fabric, that's a technique that works. So to assemble my burrito, I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the first video. I'm going to find my center points of my inside piece and the center point of my top piece and line it up, and then work my way around the edge. When I'm working with these really tiny mask pieces, the differences are that I'm going to be a little more careful with trimming my edges. Just make sure that all the pieces are really symmetrical, that I'm cutting them carefully, because these little teeny tiny pieces, if you cut them a little wonky, it just shows a little bit more and it affects the fit. And then a tip for fitting a mask onto a child is you want to make sure that the child can put the mask on and take the mask off themselves. One of the considerations for children wearing masks for safety is that they should be able to remove the mask themselves. So if you're doing some kind of an ear saver or another way of hooking the mask on, just practice and make sure that they can do that. The other thing I like to do is before the child puts the mask on, I'm going to bend that nose wire first so that we're not pushing the wire against their nose to shape it, because that can cause some bruising. The flannel does a lot to help prevent bruising for longer use, because their noses are a little more sensitive. And then you want to choose a fabric that's soft against their skin. For these small child's masks, I only do one zip tie channel. You don't really need two, so that's just one, and you're going to put that one on the top of the inside. If anybody has any questions about these children's sizes, feel free to reach out to me. The files are available for free to download from the Masks for Performers website. For these extra small masks, I've reduced the chin size down from the size 1, child size 1, by about 10% to do an extra small. And then for the small size, I use child size 2 for the top, child size 2 for the front, but I cut it down by about 1/4 of an inch for young children, and then I use a child size 1 for the bottom piece. So it's taken me a little bit of time to experiment and find the right combinations that work for me. But basically, those are the proportions that I use. All right, good luck sewing. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.